I love me a dark, twisted man.
Hello my lovelies and welcome back to another video on this bookish space of the internet. My name is Brie and today we are going to do a April wrap up as well as a May TBR. It's been a very interesting reading month to say the least, but before we begin we're going to get comfy. If you haven't had any water today like me, this is your sign to drink some water now. And now we can get to our fun drink. I'm honestly having about 3 of these Red Bulls a day as a newly postpartum mum of 2 under 2. Best believe I'm surviving on Red Bulls right now. Every time I've been finishing a book, I've been adding them into this book lover's journal. Thanks Eamon for the buy. I just find it keeps my thoughts fresh so that when I do one of these videos, I actually know what I'm talking about because I read so many books. I have read 15 books this month and it's not even the end of the month, so I'm probably going to have read at least 1 or 2 more by the end of it. Now, funnily enough, the first 3 books that I read this month were actually paperback, but I'm just going to get them out of the way now. The first 2 that I've read, I did a reread of The Boys of Tommen, and this month I finished Taming 7 and Releasing 10 by Chloe Welsh. Now, if you haven't read the Boys of Tommen series, you are sorely missing out because it is one of the most gut-wrenching series that I've ever read in my life, and every time I finish, especially finish Releasing 10, I actually end up with the worst book hangover in my entire life, and I sob. I just thinking about it sob. If you have seen my TikToks, you know that all I am doing at the moment is talking Boys of Tommen, talking about their theories, crying about the fact that Chloe Welsh still has not released Claiming 10. And it destroys me. Boys of Tommen follows a series of kids set in the early 2000s in Ireland, Cork. It is deeply traumatic. You really do need to check your trigger warnings. It is portrayed as a cutesy little romance. It is not. It is the furthest thing from a cutesy little romance that I have ever fucking read in my entire life. And it really pisses me off when people go, oh, I'm gonna buy that for my teenage daughter. Fucking don't. Because if your teenage daughter does not need the trauma, don't give it to her. So it is a set of 7 books. Most of the books are set on different couples. The first 2 are set on Johnny and Shannon, that is Binding and Keeping 13. The next 2 are Saving and Redeeming 6. They follow Joey and Aoife. Then comes Taming 7, which follows Claire and Gibbsy, and then Releasing 10, which follows Hugh and Lizzie. Now, we have been announced that the next 2 books of each of these couples are coming this year. We just do not know when, and that is a very big problem in the community at this moment. It's really hard to give context on these 2 books without having read the other books. Just know that these are both 5 stars, 6 stars in my mind. I would highly recommend them. I would say that there may be a 2 chili spice, but definitely do check your trigger warnings if you are planning on reading these books. If you have not yet, I know that most people have read these books, unless you're in my life, and then no one in my life has read them because I want to talk about it and no one ever wants to. I'm very bitter about that, clearly. The next book that I read was Game On by Navisa Allen. It is book 3 of the Into Darkness series. I hate that woman. Tyler Newman has spent years looking for his father, planning to destroy him. He'll manipulate whoever he can to extract his revenge, including Stella McCormick. She's everything Tyler hates. Her wealth and privilege have protected her for her entire life, and Tyler thinks it is time she finally paid the price. I hate that man. Stella might not believe in love at first sight, but loathing at first sight. No question. From the moment Tyler strolls into her tattoo parlor, she knows he's the devil here to make her life hell. Forced to play the part of his girlfriend and invite him into her family's glittering circle, Stella quickly clocks Tyler's ulterior motives, but love and hate are 2 sides of the same coin, and soon she doesn't know what's worse, being blackmailed by a man who wants to ruin her, or that they can't keep their hands off each other. Now, I love insta-lust if it is done right. They met and were dry humping and making out 2 pages later. I don't understand it, but they are either bickering or thinking of fucking each other, and that is the whole premise of their book. It was so insta-lust that it was just insane. But she is a tattoo artist and he runs an underground casino, and honestly, in the first 2 books, you get to see a lot of their works. We know that Ali and Lights Out is a nurse, and then I forget the chick's name in the second one, but we know that she is an S-worker. And you get to see both of their work. With her being a tattoo artist, you don't see any of it, and I kind of wish that we got to see more of that. But this book didn't feel like a dark romance. It just kind of felt like a slightly dark, like a grey romance. It was not really a dark romance at all, and their banter felt very forced. It wasn't anything like Lights Out, where it's just funny without me needing to be funny. Like, I had such a good time reading Lights Out, but every book after has, while I've still enjoyed it, they just feel like they're trying too hard to be too similar to Lights Out. I gave this one a 3.5 stars, and it's a 3.5 chili spice to me. And also, at the end, they become a random throuple, which would be fine. I actually read a lot of reverse harems this month, but it's just, he's randomly introduced, they have a threesome scene, and you think, okay, cool, that's fine, there's gonna be a threesome scene. No, at the end of the book, he's just randomly a part of their relationship, and it's just like oh, Okay, but you know nothing about him, so you don't feel for him as a character. So their relationship just doesn't have a great ending, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion, and I'm allowed to have it. Every other book that I've read this month, I actually read on Kindle Unlimited, so now I actually have to get all of the synopsises up. I'm just gonna load up the laptop. Oh, the laptop's dead. The next book that I read was Twisted Porn. As soon as I read Bad Bishop by LJ Chen, I knew that Achilles was going to be my Achilles heel. You see what I did there? And I was right. I loved Achilles and Teeny's book so much. They are a childhood friends to enemies to lovers. They are a second chance romance. I loved them. She broke his heart. Now it's time he destroys her. Teeny. There's a bullet with my name on it, and Achilles Ferrante is the man who will pull the trigger. I'd always known that one of us would kill the other. I just hoped to do the honor. Twice I betrayed him. First I broke his heart, then I sold him out to the feds. Even if I hadn't, I doubted he could spell mercy, much less spare me any. The Kimura prince promised he'd make a spectacle of my death when he caught me. Let him try. He could chase me until the end of the earth. I will always run faster. Achilles. To love is to destroy, and I'd loved Teeny Callahan for far too long and far too much. She's a fatal weakness, but unlike the Greek mythology warrior, I will remain undefeated. My little flame can run fast, but my bullet is faster. Once upon a time, she was the only person who saw my humanity. She's about to meet the monster that everyone else knows. Yeah. That's, need I say more? Look, I loved this book with my heart. The first 40%, I was absolutely convinced that this would be a 5-star read for me. But after the first 40%, it just didn't hit as well. A huge premise of this book is that she's meant to be on the run. It maybe only lasts 10 to 15% of the book. She is not on the run for that long. And even then, by the time that they're on the run, he is so head over heels for her that there's just nothing. Like he's like, okay, I caught you. Now I don't know what to do about it. But I loved seeing an in-depth of his yearning, the fact that she was the one who really set his humanity free, but to everyone else, he is this monster, and I love books like that.
I love me a dark, twisted man.
As much as I enjoyed the chase, I just wish that I got to see a little bit more of it. It only lasted maybe 10-15% of the book. I love the fact that like a man simps and a man caves, but he, once he caught her, was just too simpy. There was definitely a scene where he pulls her out of a depressive state, but he just became too much of a simp. And I love a dark man that only is a simp for his woman, but there is a too much of a simp for your woman, for a dark romance man, in my opinion. And just like the last book, there is a random threesome. I can't even remember it actually. I wrote it in my journal, but I don't even remember the random threesome, but there is just a random threesome. I remember who it was now. Yes, I remember who it was now. I do know that the next book is The Other Brother. I'm trying to remember his name, but I cannot at this moment. But I'm actually very excited for Luca's book. I love me a mafia man that feels absolutely nothing except for her. This man was shot and stabbed and just kept getting up and was reacting like nothing had happened to him. The way I feel about Luca right now, I'm so excited for his book. I know you're meant to hate him, but nothing better for me in a dark romance book than when the man feels absolutely nothing. You can stab him in the shoulder and he just looks at you like you're an annoyance. That's Luca, and I'm so frothing at the mouth for his book. But I gave this book a 3.75 chili spice and a 4-star. The next book I read was The Filthy Wicked Psychos. It is a 4-book series. It's a reverse harem dark romance. I gave this a 4 chili spice. It was spice in it, to say the least. Let me get the synopsis. The books are Twisted Games, Beautiful Devils, Corrupt Vow, and Savage Hearts. I was the girl no one looked at twice until they saw me. My whole life, no one had my back. My parents are dead, my adoptive mother is a drug addict, and the mean girls on campus mocked me for my scars. So when I ended up desperate for money and out of options, I agreed to sell the one thing I have left. My innocence. On the night I meant to give my body to a brutal Russian mobster, 3 men storm into the room like dark shadows and kill him before they can claim me. Did I forget to mention their brothers? When they drag me from the blood-soaked bed, I'm certain they're going to kill me too. They don't, but they don't forget about me either. These 3 dangerous brothers will do anything to make sure I keep my mouth shut about what I saw, even if it means stalking my every moment. I'm a loose thread to them, but somehow I'm becoming more than that too. I'm becoming an obsession, a temptation, a craving. No matter how much I try to deny the terrifying attraction that pulses between us, I know if I don't find a way out of this tangled web soon, their darkness will swallow me up. one of the reviews was she ate but left a couple crying. Can we just acknowledge, just for a moment, let's acknowledge the brothers' names are Ransom, Malice, Vic. If you're gonna go ham with 2 random names, at least do it for all 3. And why is Vic the nerd? Let's get my thoughts on these books. Clearly I had a lot, but I read all 4 of them. I fear that it could have been a duology rather than 4 books. It just felt very dragged on. And honestly, it felt like a Wattpad fanfiction. I seen one girl make one TikTok about this and I read it instantly. I literally went on my phone and downloaded it on the Kindle app, and then that afternoon I was reading it. And it could have been a duology and I could have never read it. Honestly, I could have never have read this book and be just as fine. One thing that bothered me was that the sentences were far too long and there were too many commas. If there are too many commas, you're just reading it as such, and it just felt like in my head it was just too much info at one time. There was so many plot holes, and the secondhand embarrassment I had during this book was actually insane. I was fighting for my life to not DNF it for the first, I think, 40-50% of the first book. I kept pushing through, and honestly I'm glad I did, because the first book and the second and maybe half of the third, giggling, kicking my feet. I honestly, yes, but then because it could have been a duology, the 4th book I was fighting my life to DNF it, but at that point I was like, I've already read through, I might as well just finish it. First half of the first book and the complete last book I was fighting for my life to finish. The rest, giggling, kicking my feet, because it was not a great book, but I was having a silly goofy fun time. The spicy scenes were very good, I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed the spicy scenes. The rest of it, I really don't think I would recommend this book. It'd be like a maybe, but like a maybe leaning towards no. And I rated it 2.75 stars. The whole series was 2.75 stars, in my opinion. Now clearly there is a theme this month, because the next book that I read was The Wrong Catch by C.R. Jane. I read the Pucking series, the Pucking Wrong series, and they were fine, but they were like a bit too crazy for me. And even then, the spin-off, which is the Pucking Wrong, the one with the football player, I forget his name, he ties her into his basement for 2 weeks until she decides, actually, I will stay with you. Yeah. But I will say, I was very excited for this one because I love a female stalker. She is his stalker. Let me get up the synopsis. So this is book 3 of the Wrong Player series. I was his stalker, he was my religion, and somewhere in between the lines of lies and worship, we fell in love. Everyone warned me that love could ruin you. They just never said it would feel this good while it burned. Maddie Adler is the University of Tennessee's golden boy, star tight end, campus legend, the kind of man that girls write their names into textbooks. I should know. Mine's filled with his. I used to watch him from my car, follow his schedule, trace his smile like it was a prayer. He was the reason I chose this school, the reason I started breathing again. He then one day looked up and saw me, and now he's caught me. He says he loves me too. He was never supposed to know my secrets, but loves like ours don't play fair. It devours, it traps, it destroys. And maybe that's what we both wanted all along, because maybe I was never the wrong choice. Maybe I was his only one. Now this is a dark football romance. She is his stalker, but he is fucking insane. Before we get started, dare I say that there is a scene with a cup that you will never move on from. The fucking cup, dude. Sorry. Where to begin? That's literally how it starts, where to begin. Now this has been my problem with all of C.R. Jane's books, and I understand that that's like what she writes, so if it's a problem, that it's a me problem, not a her problem. I don't love the Insta-lust. I like Insta-lust when it's done right, but if it's every single book of yours, don't love it. I don't. And I don't like that it's instantly, I'm in love with you. Like, why can't it just be, I'm obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with you, but I want to call it love. It's just that I have an obsessive personality and you seem to fit my criteria. But yet, knowing this, I still go back for more. But I do think this may be my last C.R. Jane book, because unfortunately, I never rate them very high, and I always end up regretting reading them after. So I do fear that this may be my last C.R. Jane book. I mean, I was very keen for Maddie's book because he, out of the 3 of the friends, was the normal one. He kept calling them out for their shitty, awkward, stalkerish behavior, and even thought his stalker was weird. No, the second, and I mean the second his eyes laying on her, he was instantly obsessed, wanting to track her, install cameras in her room, making her live with him. The second he sees her, and that's what I mean. I love a crazy dark romance man, but do it right, you know what I mean? Basically, he was meant to be the normal one, and then he just ended up being a complete mix of all of her other books. There's also meant to be a secret society thing in here. really could have gone without, because it was not a huge plot point in this book. It was like basically a 10% thing of this book. There was no point in even mentioning the Secret Society, and I feel that way with the 3 of the books, to be honest. The Secret Society was just kind of not needed. I enjoyed it enough to not DNF. I was giggling, kicking my feet a little until that cup scene that really fucking ruined me. But I did give the book a 4 chili spice, and I think I rated it at 2.9 because it was just below a 3, but I didn't DNF it, so it wasn't below a 2.5. The next book I read was The Perfect Fit by Sadie Kincaid. It is a dark reverse harem. 1 wannabe writer from Brooklyn, 3 insanely hot billionaires, 1 very indecent proposal. West Archer, Ezekiel Kavanaugh, and Xander King, aka the Unholy Trinity, ruthless, ambitious, intimidating. With dark tastes, even darker desires. They've been... Sorry, I read, let me remember the scene. Sorry. They've been searching for the perfect woman to fit into their unique lifestyle for over a decade, but despite their best efforts, none have made it past 3 months. Believing they're destined to never find the one, they stop looking until they meet Lily. There's something about Lily Sloan, something that captivates all 3 of them, and for the first time ever, it seems like they may have truly found the perfect fit. But as we all know, there is a such thing as too good to be true. Lily Sloan isn't the penniless girl from Brooklyn they think she is, and with a past full of secrets and lies that she's trying to escape, the unholy trinity might have bitten off more than they can chew. When trust is broken, is there any way back? Now this one is actually a why choose romance, but the men are in a relationship as well, which I actually did not know before I read it. Thoroughly enjoy reading it, so I'm not gonna lie. Now they play off as one of the men having a really, really dark sexual interest. It's just he's into blood, that's it. But why is it that every time there is a man into blood, there has to be a period scene? This man does something with a tampon that I don't think I want to talk about ever again. This book was basically just sex. If you're interested in a reverse harem book where the men are fucking each other and the women are fucking them, and it's basically all just sex with very minimal plot, hey, this book's for you. But yeah, I was surprised to see the men were in a relationship. There was just a scene where like one of them like starts ripping the other's thigh, and I'm like, oh, that got me a little flustered. The same thing with the Insta love. They just see her and they're all of them are Insta just like, I'm attracted to that girl and I want to fuck her. And not even just fuck her. They were like, I want you to live with us and I am going to do whatever I can to make you live with us, even though you just met us. I don't get it. I don't. Insta love, Insta lust, Insta obsession can be great when it's done right. I did like that she was defined. I did like that there is a 3rd act breakup, of course, because there always is with these kind of books. But they grovel, beg at her feet. Also, the way that they did it, whole thing was just a miscommunication. It's a miscommunication trope at its finest. They really could have just talked about it and sorted it out. Nope, they had to humiliate her in front of her whole company that she works with, the whole company that they employ, because she is they own the business that she works for, and they embarrassed her in front of all of her colleagues, so she had to quit. It was just such a big miscommunication. It did not have to happen. They could have just said, hey, can we talk about this, instead of embarrassing her. But I love that she did not forgive them straight away. She really made them grovel for it, crawl on their fucking hands and knees. She did not forgive them easily. Also, there's a random ending with a mafia. Like, it is not mentioned the first maybe 70% of the book. Oh my god, someone with a motorcycle just drove past. There was a scene with a motorcycle in one of these books. Yeah, anyway, there's like the first 70% of the book is not mentioned, and then there's randomly a mafia side plot. She's like the daughter of a mafia kingpin. It could have been fan-fucking-tastic. Honestly, when I was reading it, I was like, oh my god. But they made the plot of that too complicated for such a short period of the book. It was like, it wasn't really her father, it was actually her uncle, but her father killed her, but her uncle killed her father because he secretly wanted all of his money, and then, but actually the mum's in love with her, something. It's a whole complicated story that could have been executed perfectly if it was more in the book. Like, if it was actually set that from the very beginning, but it's like they just like wanted to make a really complicated backstory for her and only give like 20% of the book to explain it. Like, the whole thing, like, I was fighting to keep up because I was like, what? You're just giving me so much information all at once and not letting me deal with it. And then it's like gone. Then she's back to a regular old writer in Brooklyn. Like, what? Anyway. Also, one of the male characters is a brat. I loved it. When he was a brat, not gonna lie, it was very attractive when he was a brat, not gonna lie. But I rated that book, again, 2.9 stars. But it was a 5 chili spice because the book was basically just them fucking. The next book I read was Chaotic by Chantal Tessier. If you've read any of the Lord series, you know exactly what this book is. It's basically just sex and demeaning women. I don't know why I keep reading them, to be honest, but I have decided that I'm officially, after this, I am done with the Lord series. But let's get the synopsis up, shall we? Here's Angel. I was born into a secret society known as the Lords. There is no limit to the depravity. If they want to be respected, they have to earn it. Women like me are merely allowed to exist in their world until they no longer need us. I've spent most of my life wishing death would find me, that I'd be granted an escape from the reality I was forced to endure. But luck has never been on my side. It seemed I was destined to never be anything more than a failure. I vow, you vow, we vow. Then one night I took control of my life. It was the first taste of freedom and I wanted someone to notice me. Turns out that was a mistake, and my father had been right. I didn't deserve to be seen. A lord, Cashton Langdon Pierce, saved me, and I offered to pay him the only way I knew how, with my body. After he finished with me, I ran. Now he's back in my life, wanting to pick up where we left off. The problem with that is I'm no longer the scared woman I was when we met. I'd spent years digging myself out of a dark hole and refused to allow any man to drag me back, especially a spade brother, even if he is promising to me everything I've ever wanted. I underestimated him. Cashton inserted himself into my everyday life and invaded my dreams. He needed a pet to keep chained in his basement, a toy to occupy his free time. His brothers were busy living their lives, so he decided to take over mine. What I didn't expect from him was to make me feel loved, to be taken care of and put first before anything else. After being told you're worthless your whole life, it's hard not to believe it. Cashton made me feel cherished and accepted for who I was, unworthy. For a moment I found myself hoping for a future that I knew was impossible, one where I could be what he needed, but our world was a way of teasing happiness before stripping it away. This one does delve into BDSM and forced proximity, and it is very, very dark, and this book needs a lot of fucking trigger warnings before reading it, because holy shit. But I haven't read any of the Lord's books for over a year, and they are very plot heavy. It's basically a sex book, but it is very plot heavy. So if you haven't read any of the other ones, or if you haven't read them in a while, it is going to be very hard to keep up, because honestly, I was struggling. I've read the Lord books, but I was struggling. But honestly, the plot, fantastic. The spice was very descriptive. It was basically 80% of the whole book. So if you're into the very, very, very dark romance, like haunting, hunting, Adeline vibe-esque, you will like the Lord series. I, however, am done after this book. I don't know if they're gonna make any more, but if they do, I'm done. I know that there was a plot twist at the end, and I didn't expect it, what it was. Now, not to spoil it, but think of the ending of Pretty Little Lies. It felt like the two main characters were just having the same fight over and over again. She felt unworthy, he felt lonely, and I understand that that is a trauma response. You do have to keep pushing it. You do have to keep pushing it because you need that reassurance, and it is not something that you have a conversation with once and it goes away. But in a book format, it just felt like it were just having the same conversation over and over and over again. I will say this was a very, very spicy book. I gave it a 5 chili spice and a 2.9 stars because apparently that is my common denominator this month. I was surprised that the next book I read was another dark romance reverse harem, except this one was Den of Vipers. I finally read Den of Vipers. I seen that on Book Talk ages ago by Kay, and I have not read it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Let's get this synopsis, shall we? Look, I fucking love Diesel. To be honest, I love Diesel. Everyone, like, little bird. I gotta tell you, little bird on my chest, little bird, do you like it? Ryder, Garrett, Kenzo, and Diesel, the Vipers. They run this town and everyone in it. Their deals are sorted as their business, and their reputation is enough to bring a grown man to his knees, forcing him to beg for mercy. They are not people you mess with, yet my dad did. The old man ran up a debt with them and then sold me to cover his losses. Yes, sold me. They own me now. I'm theirs in every sense of the word, but I've never been meek and compliant. These men, they look at me with longing, their scarred, blood-stained hands holding me tight. They want everything I am, everything I have to give, and won't stop until I give just that. They can own my body, but they will never have my heart. The Vipers, I'm gonna regret the day that they took me, because this girl, she bites too. Again, with most of the others, check your trigger warnings with this one. Every time I think of this book, because her name is Roxanne, I just get that, Roxanne, Roxanne, all she wanna do is party all night. I enjoyed this book. I like that when they took her, she was not meek and compliant. She literally fought tooth and nail to be let out. She was slamming things, she was trying to bash them. She actually did bash the goons that they sent after her. I really like that she was a badass woman. I do. I love a badass woman, especially when she's surrounded by badass men. However, the end of the book, as soon as she finally admitted that she was in love with the men, she was like, because I'm a viper. Okay, cool, diva, you're a viper, I get it. But then she kept mentioning, because I'm a viper now. Okay, diva, you're a viper, we get it. Because, you know, pop off girly queen, you're a viper. But she just kept bringing, I swear to God, it was the sentence, I'm a viper, every second page. Like, what do you mean? We understand you're a viper. And I love that you're a viper, but maybe don't keep mentioning it to me, you know? I like the book. I like the dynamic with all 4 men. I like that they were all very different. 2 of the men are brothers. I don't know how I feel about that, but I keep reading about it, so I don't know, maybe I might secretly enjoy it. I have no idea. Now, while she did fight it, I don't love how easily she gave into the Stockholm Syndrome. She basically was in love with these men after 2 weeks. Fight it a little bit harder, diva. You've just been kidnapped by 4 kingpins, basically. Fight it a little bit harder. But honestly, I was pushing for this book to be a 5-star, and I like, that's me. I really enjoyed this book, but that Viper talk really kept pissing me off, and it just, in the sense, it was so much. Like, we get it, you're a Viper, stop bringing it up. Just the amount of times she said it was overkill, and it kind of annoyed me, kind of, clearly, because I'm foaming at the mouth about how annoyed I am about it. I did really like this book. I thought it was a lot of fun. I gave it a 4.5 chili spice. I enjoyed the scenes tremendously. I like that a lot of the time it was just her and the individual one man, rather than just every scene automatically had to be about all of them, because that tends to happen a lot in reverse harems. I gave this one a 4-star, but after that book I started going on a bit of a depressive state, because I curated my TikTok feed and it's all about Chloe Walsh's Claiming 10 that's not out yet, and I got really depressed and I did not know what to read. So I decided to read more dark romance, because that's what you do when you're depressed and you want something to read. I found some silly, goofy little romances with plus-size FMCs, and the men fall over it. We love it. I really am liking the series. It's a 4-book series. I have read the first 3. I'm now up to the 4th one. I read Nero by S.J. Tilley. Peyton, running away from home at 17 wasn't easy. Let's face it though, nothing before or in the 10 years since has ever been easy for me. And I'm doing okay, sorta. I just need to keep scraping by it, living under the radar, staying out of people's way, off people's minds. So when a man walks through my open patio door, stepping boldly into my home and my life, I should be scared, frightened, terrified. But I must be broken than I must be more broken than I realize, because I am none of those things. I'm intrigued, and I'm wondering if the way to take control of my life is by giving it to him. Nero. The first time I took a man's life, I knew there'd be no going back, no normal existence in the cards for me. So instead of walking away, I climbed a mountain of bodies and created my own destiny by forming the alliance. And I was fine with that, content enough to carry on, until I stepped through those open doors and into her life. I should have walked away, should have gone right back out the door that I came through, but I didn't. And now her life is in danger. And that's the thing about a bad man. I'll happily paint the streets red to protect what's mine, and Peyton is mine whether she knows it or not. Now this book reminded me of Lights Out. It's funny, it's dark, but it's a humorous kind of dark. The way that they meet their meet cute is he's running away from the cops. Her balcony doors are open. He climbs into them. See, she's watching The Wizards of Oz. Apparently that's one of his favorite movies. So he sits on her couch, takes the popcorn from her lap, and then he just sits there and watches the movie, and she is too afraid and like meek. She just stares at him, doesn't do anything. And then eventually he's like, you're safe, I'm not going to hurt you. And she falls asleep. So he snoops through her house, finds out that she uses rose-scented shower wash, so he steals it and then off with it. And then he buys the apartment across from her so he can just watch her with binoculars. And then one night she's randomly just like, I'm a 28-year-old woman that's a virgin. I'm going to leave my balcony doors open and see if that man comes for a second time, and I'm going to let him steal my virginity. And he does. Like, diva, you've just met the man. Why are you giving him a virginity? They only meet 4 times before they have their not breakup, but they're like 3rd act fight, and then he forces her to move in with him. He like goes to her house, you're not living here, you're moving in with me. Like at this point they've been like seeing each other for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Literally. And that happens in all of these books. It's like very fast-paced timeline, and they're very fast-paced books, but you fucking love it. Like I was kicking my feet screaming. And I love that the women are all plus size. They talk about their soft squishy bellies, and the men love the bellies. What can I say? I have a man, and my man obviously loves my belly because I have 2 fucking kids. But this man was instantly obsessed with her, to the point that he literally was like, yep, you know what, I'm gonna keep you, and like force her to move in after 2 weeks. But I rated this one a 3.75 chili spice and a 4-star because I actually enjoyed it. If you think you're gonna enjoy Nero, you just wait till you meet King. So King and Nero are both the leaders of the Alliance. The Alliance is basically this big bad mafia. They One of them killed the Russian mafia, one of them killed the Italian mafia, Spanish mafia, and then they formed the alliance instead. You thought Nero was a red flag. Okay, so my bad for assuming the guy that I'm going on a date with wasn't married, and my bad for taking him to a friend's house for dinner, only to find out that my friend is also friends with his wife, because in fact, he is married, and she happens to be at my friend's house because her husband was busy working. Confused? So am I. Unsurprisingly, my date's wife is super angry about finding out her husband is cheating. Girl, I get it. Then to make matters more convoluted, there's the man sitting next to my date's wife, a man named King, who is apparently her brother and lives up to his name. And since my date is a two-timing prick, I'm not going to feel bad about drooling over King, especially since I'll never see him again. Or at least, I don't plan to. I plan to take an Uber to the cheater's apartments to get my car keys. I'm planning for it to be quick. And if I had a list of 1,000 possible outcomes, witnessing my date's murder, being kidnapped by his killer, and then being forced to marry the super attractive but clearly deranged crime lord would not have been on my bingo card. But alas, here I am. A morally grey man who kills his sister's husband and you accidentally witness it, so he kidnaps you, forces you to marry him. Yes please, thank you. Mr. I like them heavy King. As he is kidnapping her, he grunts, and then she says, "Oh, excuse you," and he says, "I like him heavy," and then lifts her with one arm and then carries her to his car. King! He's instantly obsessed with her, to the point that like literally he's like in the middle of driving her home, and he's like, you know what? I am going to have to marry this woman because the police can't question her if she's married to me. So that's my logical outcome. I'm going to keep her in this home, and I'm going to forcibly pin her to the couch with my body. Like literally koala pin her to the couch, and I'm going to force her to marry me. Yep. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And that's what he does. Nero is the one that marries them, and he has one of his members of staff as their witness, and the staff member just so happens to look at his wife. Mister, if you look at my wife like that again, I'm going to scope out your eyeballs. Okay, diva, like... say less, I guess. But there has been 2 instances where she has fallen down the stairs. One of them is when someone breaks into their home and tries to unalive her, and not me talking like mine on TikTok, and because he was so paranoid, like he's just so sick of her being hurt by these damn stairs, while she's recovering he gets his stairs carpeted with such thick carpeting that she could literally throw herself to the bottom and bump off like a friggin', what are they called? Bouncy castle. I loved King. King was amazing. King was 3.75 spicy, and he was a 4-star. King has got nothing on Dom. Daddy Dom. Val. Val is King's half-sister, just so you know. Val. When I was 9, I went to my first funeral. Along with accepting my father's death, I had to accept new and awful truths that I wasn't prepared for. When I was 19, I went to my mother's funeral. We weren't close, but with her gone, I became more alone than ever before. Sure, I have a half-brother who runs the Alliance, and yeah, he's given me his protection in the form of a bodyguard and a chauffeur, but I don't have anyone that really knows me, no one to really love me, until I meet him, the man at the airport. And when one chance meeting turns into something hotter, something more serious, I let myself believe that maybe he's the one. Maybe this man is the one who I will finally save me from my loneliness, the one to give me the family I've always craved. Dom. The mafia is in my blood. It's what I do. So when the blood is spilled and one funeral turns into 3 drastic measures need to be taken, and when this battle turns into war, I'm going to need more men, more power. I'm going to need the Alliance, and I'll become a member by any means necessary. Basically, it is not a chance meeting. He plans this meeting. Very drastically so. It is very insta-lust, insta-heavy. They do fuck at the airport, and it is a very sexy fuck at the airport also. Daddy Dom. I do not think that a cookie is meant to be that attractive and meant to be that erotic. There is a scene where he basically says, "Eat up, mama." When a man says mama, okay, Rio. This man has no red flags. Does he drug her? Yeah. Does he trick her into a marriage? Yeah. Does he, you know, force her to move away from everyone she's ever known to move into his house in Chicago? Yeah, okay. Does he swap her birth control? Maybe you'll have to read it to find out, but would I call them red flags? Not particularly, no. This man has an absolutely filthy mouth. He is utterly certifiable. The way he talks, because she is also a soft and squishy plus size FMC. We love her. This man is obsessed with her mummy milkers and her soft tummy because he's always touching both. And look, we love plus size representation in books. I honestly do, especially as a plus size girly myself, with a man that is also obsessed with the mummy milkers. But anyone touches this woman, they die. There's a man that calls her fat in front of him. Guy gets a hole punched into his stomach to the point that Nero asks if a bazooka did it. No, diva, he literally punched him through his ribs, so his ribs punctured his heart. That's what happens when you call his woman fat. What happens when you touch the damn woman. But I gave this one a 4 chili spice. This one was just a little bit spicy than the rest, and I rated this one a 4.5 stars. I loved that book. I really did, and I only finished it last night. But those are all of the books that I did read in April. Let's go see what we're going to read next month. Do not touch my books. We do have a random guest in the form of my toddler. I don't really know what books that I plan on reading in the month of May, but we're gonna figure it out together. It would help if I could see what's on my Kindle Unlimited, but I sadly cannot because you're on my phone and my Kindle is right here. I can fucking look. Dumb idiot. Okay, some paperback options include The Darkest Temptation. This is purely because I discovered recently that it is actually on Kindle Unlimited, and I've been really wanting to reread this because I have actually been writing a book of my own and I'm very heavily inspired by this one. So I want to just reread it and see what other inspiration I can pick up. Now, speaking of plus size representation, we have In Her Own League. Mr. Emma Montgomery. Next book is Dove by Paisley Hope. I did read Wolfie when it was on Kindle Unlimited, but now it is no longer on Kindle Unlimited. I have to read the paperback version. Everybody and their mother is talking about this book on Book Talk, so that is Starside by Alex Astor. I did not read any of her Lightlark books, so we're going to give this one a go. I also want to read Hearts by S.J. Tilly. That is the 4th book in the Alliance series. I've also heard great things with the new H.D. Carlton book. It's called My Dreadful Darling. I really want to read that one as well. I also want to read Close to You by Nissa Renzo and Please Don't Go by Eve Salvador. I know that they're a little bit depressing and I kind of just want to be a little bit depressed sometimes. You know what I mean? I've also had this one on my Kindle Unlimited for a while. I've seen it on Facebook and I love supporting small indie authors. I really want to give Sap and Secrets by Daphne Elliott a go, but that is all I'm going to plan ahead for. I'm probably not going to read half of them because I'm definitely a mood reader. That is my April wrap up and my May TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now obviously I have my hands full with 2 kids, so I'm only trying to do 2 videos a month, so that is going to be a wrap up TBR and then just a little surprise of whatever I'm feeling like that month. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your April wrap ups and your May TBR are in the comment section down below. I love you guys and I will see you guys in the next one.